had to jockey for position there. It'll come out towards the left hand side. Wonderful nimble footwork there from Finn Douglas, who was almost over there. If he had telescopic arms, he may well have made it across the line. The Knights under real pressure at the moment then. The referee was suggesting rotation on the ground there, coming to the rescue of the Knights, and Edinburgh A will feel that that was an opportunity perhaps wasted there. They were clever through the hands but had no end product on this occasion.
Yep, just the double movement, wasn't it, that Finlay Brown suggested there? It looked like on the replay there it was Murray McCallum just lost control of the ball, and then in regathering it he was double movement, so a penalty. But that's really heartening for the Southern Knights to repel the Edinburgh A attack there. Tap penalty on the 5 metre line. You think for all intents it's going to be another Edinburgh score, but Knights do really well and they clear their lines, secure the line out ball, chance maybe to get a bit more territory. Demerel is one of the second row forwards. A lot of Southern Knights supporters have been looking for him to start matches. He tends to appear on the bench. Aidan Cross escaping the attentions initially of the Edinburgh A defence, but they win ball back, and that's a loop pass out there from Harrison out towards the right hand side, trying to play a little bit of football. Finn Douglas scampering after that. Douglas himself 2 tries in the competition so far. Ball going into touch there. Knights remaining inside their 22, but once again Edinburgh going from coast to coast there. No opportunity on this occasion for Douglas to add to his try tally for the season. Yeah, like the ambition of Southern Knights to not to go with the box kick, to get the ball to Aidan Cross, who looked dangerous, but he gets turned over. You hope that doesn't dishearten the Knights, so that they still have that ambition to try and play, even though they're now back on under the cosh, losing another line out. Picked up again, and once more Edinburgh looking through Rudy Brown, the number 8. And behind is Jones. Midfield linking up well, 12 to 13. Scott on towards Matt Curry, and Curry all the time just to swing round, tap down underneath the posts. Receiving the pass from his vice captain, and outside centre is in for a second score. That coming 13.5 minutes into the first half. 12-0 the scoreline. Yeah, and again it's the forwards putting the pressure on, winning the turnover at line out time. It looked like it was a slight underthrow from Southern Knights. And it's great recognition from Matt Curry of where the space is, just changing his line, running the short one off his centre partner Cammy Scott, and Scott recognising this, good communication between the two. And then because of the pace that Curry's through that hole, it's really difficult for any cover defence to lay a hand on him. Under the posts, it's a pretty straightforward conversion for Bruce Houston. Well gathered on the banking there behind the posts as well, preventing the ball clattering off a couple of cars that were parked by that roadside. Not quite down in the policeman's corner, but close to it. And it's an extension of the lead, 14 points to 0. Recycled then, restart. He's looked forward there in the air. You could see the intent there. Jamie Campbell's looking to try and get some clean hands on the ball. Pass in the direction there of Alan Ferry. He's taken a sore one but remains on his feet now as it comes back to Sam Derrick. Southern Knights number 8 on his knees. Desperate for a response here for the Knights. In behind him very quickly is Rory Brand. And the scrum half looking to be the architect of some creativity here. Aidan Hall takes the ball on, is able to offload as well on that 15 channel. Brand once again brings the skipper Russell Anderson into play up towards the edge of the 22. Brand recycles, onto the ball there was Demerel, and Demerel again just demolished there by a couple of Edinburgh A players. The long loop pass and the interception. Look at this for a piece of acceleration in underneath the posts. Lightning quick stuff there from Cam Jones, touching down. And we did see Edinburgh and Blair Kinghorn play a rather loose pass last night against Ulster, and that was intercepted from a similar position on the park, with John Cooney finishing things off. Well, Cooney certainly couldn't have been any quicker than Cam Jones was across the Greenyards turf this afternoon. As we see the interception, it was short there of, I think Robbie Chalmers was the intended target, Colin, and away he went. It was lightning quick. And it's a third try for Edinburgh A and a third opportunity for Houston to add the extras. Yeah, soul destroying for Southern Knights, isn't it? Their first chance to get any sort of possession in Edinburgh territory. They go through some phases. Edinburgh's defence is good, and there is a big tackle. You identified it was on Demirel, wasn't it? And then from there, Knights, they just think, oh, let's force it, let's try and go wide, and the pass it's just a little bit too telegraphed. The Knights backs all in one line, so you know who's going to be receiving the ball. Cam Jones just plucks it out the air and almost just canters the 60 metres.
So back it comes on the 22. Houston downfield, real length in that kick as well, but gathered by Kieran Clark. Clark with the high up and under, he'll give chase. Edinburgh are able to gather possession of the ball, evade the challenge coming in from Kieran Clark as he was accelerating onto his own kick there, and Edinburgh are back over their own 10 metre line. Quick recycled ball, pop pass out perhaps to the left hand side. There's two supporting players down the left. Matt Curry takes the ball into contact, quickly in behind is Cam Jones, the latest Edinburgh A try scorer in the scrum half, with the pass on to his fly half Houston. Picked up there off the toes by Angus Williams. Again, he's had some experience in the first team, but looking to cement a place in the mindset, I'd imagine, of whoever will be the newly appointed Edinburgh head coach. That decision, of course, still to be made as Jamie Campbell tries to gallop up towards that 10 metre line. Recycled, and Blythe Lafferty again tries to swat away the Knights players in front of him. Edinburgh leading by 21 points to nil, and again assured through the hands as Jack Blaine, half through there, plants the ball back. Jones in behind, on once more to Harrison. Out it goes centrally to Williams, and in behind is Jones again. It's almost like a training exercise here for Edinburgh, playing at a rate of knots that the Southern Knights are finding difficult to deal with just now, but they're along their own 22, just in front of it just now. Tried to play a little bit of football there, the grab and grubber, but there was no opportunity for the grubber to enter the Southern Knights 22, and it remains 21 points to nil with 18 minutes of the first half gone. It's been a quick opening 18 minutes and plenty of talking points.
Yeah, and really good passage of rugby there at Edinburgh. Their attack, the variety, going up the middle, getting to the width, they're winning the contact, they're winning the breakdown, but Southern Knights are staying in the fight. They're doing really well, even though they're leaking yards, they're still making their tackles, they're still committing to it, they're making it really difficult for Edinburgh to get over the try and to make actual line breaks, so that they might be making territory every phase, but it's good defence on the whole from Southern Knights. On that occasion forcing an error from Edinburgh, trying a little smart play around the front of the line out.
That's one thing that I'm sure that Scott White and of course Alan Tate, who's overseeing the Southern Knights this season, they'll be drilling into his players after a difficult opening two fixtures. But up against Edinburgh A, this, as we said, Edinburgh A's last outing in the tournament, with them and Glasgow playing in the opening 3 rounds of the competition before it then reverts back to the original 6 sides who will play the concluding weeks. Knights again working it from the back of the scrum. Derek up and just outside that 22 before he's tackled. And just tries to dig the ball out there, and it ended up rather on his backside, and Clark Skeldon eventually knocked up the Jed man in Southern Knights colours just now, but it's back with Edinburgh A. Pop pass, little loose pass there, was trying to helped on there by Cammy Scott, knocked forward. The Southern Knights was originally infringing through the hands before it was played forward through the hands by the Edinburgh A players, and they'll come back for the penalty just on the edge of the Southern Knights 22.
Yeah, Southern Knights just can't get any phases to their attack, just the pressure that Edinburgh's defence is putting on them, whether that's actually at set piece or whether it's within the first couple of phases, getting men at hands on ball in the breakdown and just winning those turnovers. It's the second time almost off first or second phase Edinburgh have got that turnover. On that occasion they'll be disappointed that they didn't make more of it, didn't get the ball to hand with the space, with the Knights defence not set, but they've still got an excellent attacking position.
Jones into the scrum, controlled by the feet of Rudy Brown, Edinburgh A number 8. Referee Finlay Brown though and spotted the infringement just at the conclusion of the scrum there. So play will resume once again, just on the edge, as you see, of that Southern Knights 22. Some traffic just passing the main road on the left hand side, just behind the posts that Edinburgh A are attacking in this first half. A first half now 21 and a half minutes old, with Edinburgh A 21 points to the lead. Those 3 tries coming from Patrick Harrison, as well as Matt Curry. He was the second try scorer, and then that lung-busting run half the length of the pitch from the scrum half, Cam Jones. Outside centre, and one of the try scorers there, Matt Curry, up towards the edge of the 22. Again, they work it through the hands of Rudy Brown. Number 8 goes into contact. They pick and go once more into the 22. That's good determination shown there by the Edinburgh A forwards. Mopped up again. Jones passes allowed to bounce there. O'Connell, the skipper, was in position. O'Connell, and a little offload there. Blythe Lafferty was half through, still is going, he's able to offload, and it's the tight head Angus Williams that finishes things off. I thought the opportunity perhaps had gone, as there was some uncertainty there. Was Blythe Lafferty going to make his way into that 22 and escape the attentions of the Southern Knights defence? He did that, and then with the offload, it was Angus Williams was the supporting runner in for a fourth try. 26 points to 0, 22 minutes on the clock.
It's good work from Blythe Lafferty. The angle that he ran, receiving the ball, gets through the first tackle, but then he's got the awareness, the presence of mind, and the skill set just to get the offload away. And what more does a tight head prop want than a 20 metre unopposed run to the try line? So it's another good score from Edinburgh.
Another fine conversion as well. They all count, and none are easy, even those that are relatively straightforward in front of the posts. They still require skill to add the extra 2 points. So 28 points to 0. Yes, you and I know a few prop forwards. One springs to mind at ex-Scotland tight head that would be waxing lyrical for the remainder of the Saturday evening if he'd scored such a try.
I think his hamstring would have gone before he got to the try line on that occasion.
From the restart, Edinburgh A mopping up on the edge of their own 22, leading by 28 points to 0. Into contact, Badenhorst, back it comes midfield, looking to work it out towards the left hand side. That just ends up behind Jack Blaine, who was outside of the 22 and looking for perhaps a better place to pass. Wasn't telegraphed too well out on that left hand side, so a little loose there from Edinburgh A. And Rob Christie will, I would imagine, cut quite a relaxed figure, unlike Alan Tate, who will be frustrated. They will be mindful of how his side have been under the caution, how they have responded, how they've tried to approach the match, especially when they've been in possession of the ball inside their own 22. But there's a better attacking platform on the edge of the Edinburgh E 22 this time. Again, they're looking to try and rumble it forward here. Right in the thick of the actions is their skipper, Russell Anderson. He peels away now as Southern Knights on the edge of the 22. Brand scoops it up back towards Anderson there. 2 Edinburgh E players right in front of him. Brand's in behind, mops up once more, taken on by the number 8 Derrick. Perhaps takes his eyes off it ever so slightly, but Chalmers is able to latch onto that loose ball, picked up by Brand. On then towards Demeril, another solid challenge there on Demeril, almost exactly the same spot where he was clattered a few moments ago. He's back to his feet. The penalty awarded to the Knights, and this is an important phase in the game. If they can just settle things down, prevent Edinburgh A from doing any further damage to the scoreboard. Yeah, just I think Demeril almost jumps into to receive the ball. It was almost a no arms tackle given on Patrick Harrison, the Edinburgh hooker. Maybe a bit of a tough call for him, but so the Knights will take it. It's their first opportunity in Edinburgh's 22. So important that they get accuracy at this line out. Just allow them to build some phases, have a real go at this Edinburgh team. It's almost, the score's gone now already, but they still give a good account of themselves. Anderson just varying it towards the front of the line, and Brand coming in now. Brand again was literally shoved off the ball there, and Edinburgh are able to kick it forward, but it's gathered by Aidan Cross. Lateral, as you see, then straightens up, runs right into Bruce Houston there, taken on by Brand. Derek. Nice little sidestep away from the tackle being made there by McConnell. Edinburgh skipper. Penalty again to Southern Knights, but they're back now on the Edinburgh A10. And they'll take some heart from these phases, but they'll want that not on the scoreboard to change fairly soon, as this time it's Grieve who angles that kick down into the 22. It's not a touch finder. It will be returned with interest as Edinburgh ping the ball back into the Southern Knights half of the field. But the Knights go again. Little delicate chip, gathered though by McConnell. The blindside flanker goes to the ground there. Skipper of the side, picked up there by Cam Jones. Back it comes, played left footed downfield. Gathered again by Kieran Clark. Clark then looks at his options, gets up towards the halfway line, runs into trouble in the form there of Patrick Harrison, one of the Edinburgh try scorers. Brand opts to go left. Chip kick there from Grieve, gathered well in the air across on that far side, and Cameron Thompson up in support, picked up there by Brand on that left hand side. Tackle coming in from Finn Douglas, trying to close the door down that right hand side. Knocked on, says Finlay Brown, the match referee. And a little bit of creativity and invention coming into Southern Knights' game as they were trying to vary the play, open up the Edinburgh A defence, who've been very well organised in the opening stages and not tested to any great degree. 27.5 minutes gone, and Edinburgh A, as Colin mentioned, leading by 28 points to 0, but a better couple of minutes there for the home side.
Absolutely, yeah, and good, as you said, Stuart, just variety to their attacking game. A nice cross-field kick there from Callum Grieve, and great take from Sam Derrick, the number 8. And then the next phase, it's smart from Rory Brand, just looking to go down that short side with big Clark Skeldon, and just unfortunate that the offload doesn't quite go to hand. Judges have gone forward from Finlay Brown, the referee, hence we have the Edinburgh scrum put in.
And Edinburgh again able to pick up at the base and taken on there by Rudy Brown, planted back, hoisted high, and that ball will bounce, go straight into touch, so back it will come. Play will resume inside the Edinburgh half of the field, crossing the far side. Few spectators with hoods up, hands in pockets. One of them seems to be in the process of trying to walk the family dog, rather occupied at the moment by the action on the Greenyards pitch. The Edinburgh A player is down, 28 points to 0. What next for some of these Edinburgh A players? Because it's that with Edinburgh's season coming to a close last night against Ulster, there's I suppose some big decisions for some of these players to make in terms of the future and where they go.
Yeah, it's decisions that some of them will be out with their control, that they'll just be hoping to be offered some sort of contract somewhere, the likes of Jack Blaine on the left wing, isn't it? And yeah, it's at least they're getting time on the pitch and they can give us as good an account of themselves as possible in this down here at the Greenyards. So again, be difficult for them, but it's looking at how they make sure they do the basics really well. They take opportunities when they're presented. Their defence is good. Their discipline, which I think so far from an Edinburgh point of view, they'll be a wee bit disappointed with how their discipline's been. A couple of soft penalties, allowing Knights some territory. But when they get their defence like that, where they just wrap up the Knights attacker, swarm defence where can't get ball to ground, and then Edinburgh's great recognition that once there's one or two of them in there just to support their teammates, make sure there's no chance of Knights getting the ball to ground, and as a result the ball doesn't come out, so it's Edinburgh put in. So even in this sort of situation, it's do they launch an attack or do they play the territory? It's just making sure that if they do launch an attack, just do the basics really well, be really effective with that. For players, yeah, there's more than just this game at stake for some of them. Ball into the scrum then. Cam Jones works his way around to the back of the scrum. Rudy Brown back to Jones, out towards the right hand side there, supported by Ethan Riley, fullback, but it's back in Southern Knights' hands, back in the Southern Knights half of the field. 28 points to 0 to Edinburgh A, approaching the final 10 minutes of the first half here at the Greenyards. Saturday evening, FOSROC Super 6 Rugby, and this spring of 2023, third round of matches in the spring series, and Edinburgh leading by 28 points to 0
Always under
referee
pressure, it's a knock
will
on.
bring
Come
play
back about
back
10
to
metres.
the halfway line.
Let's go.
In fact, just back into the Edinburgh half of the field with an Edinburgh knock on, having allowed Southern Knights an opportunity to try and work it from open play. We'll come back for the set piece, and the stop-start nature of the last couple of minutes continues, but it was a well executed line out just a few moments ago from the Knights, won by Clark Skeldon. Good supporting run by Alan Ferry before he was sort of devoured in the Edinburgh tackle. Here's a put in at the scrum this time for Brand and for the Southern Knights.
Yeah, it's a case of just getting the ball, getting the ball in and out. I think from a Southern Knights perspective, don't allow Edinburgh to get any sort of dominance, shunt them backwards too far, win a penalty. Just for Brand and Sam Derrick to work at the back of that scrum. If Derrick can get the ball quickly away, try and get the Knights on the front foot. It's not to be.
No, Edinburgh against the head there after Knights with the put in, and now they've got a little bit of space, and running into that space is Ethan Riley towards the left hand side. But again, the Knights had traffic coming across the edge of their own 10 just to try and close the door there. One of them scampering across was the distinctive figure with the mopped thick head of hair there, Kieran Clark, and he's across on that right hand side tracking every movement of the ball.
Yeah, these are the frustrations from an Edinburgh point of view, that they had an attack off a restart maybe 10 minutes ago where the ball wasn't going to hand, ended up in touch. That occasion, it's great attacking opportunity when you've got a penalty advantage, get through some phases, try and be ambitious with that attack. So they'll be disappointed that they're just dropping what are relatively straightforward passes. The flip side of that is the forwards will be delighted with how they're going up front, how they're going at scrum time, getting some real dominance there, allowing them to get field positions like this one. And is it going to be another Patrick Harrison score?
Well, this is prime position for Harrison, reaching high there, Jamie Campbell. Harrison joins in the drive, still just short as you see of that 5 metre line, but the ball tucked under the right arm. He's got a bit of room on the right hand side if he requires that room, but there's again illustration of the strength as they're up and over the line. And you felt that there was, as Colin mentioned, it was almost inevitable that was going to result in a score, and the referee Finlay Brown raising the arm. The sheer power there of Patrick Harrison and the supporting cast of forward, simply too much for the Southern Knights, and it's yet another score, a 5th try in this first half for Edinburgh A. 6 minutes to the break, and Colin Gregor 33 points to nil, almost a point a minute.
Yeah, and the forwards, it's all about the forwards having dominance, isn't it? Scrum time, winning penalties, kicking to the corner, and then they're rumbling their way over. You've also seen the forwards holding up the Southern Knights attackers, winning scrums, winning turnovers in that situation. So yeah, for Edinburgh, the forward pack will be absolutely delighted with how they're going and the dominance they're exerting. From a Knights perspective, it's just about trying to get some sort of parity, trying to match them as best they can, and then when they've got ball, just being really accurate with it, shift the Edinburgh team around the pitch as much as possible. It's easier said than done, as we see a missed conversion from Bruce Houston.
Yeah, the first time in the afternoon where he's not quite had the radar on there. 33 points to nil, but looking at where Southern Knights are just now as a collective group of players, you feel that this Edinburgh A group of players themselves are very much at the next level in terms of the difference between these sides. Ball going loose inside that Edinburgh A 22, presenting half an opportunity there for the Southern Knights. They're certainly working tremendously hard in the game, trailing by 33 points to nil as we approach the final few minutes of the first half. It's been a period of transition for the Southern Knights after the completion of the opening season, the autumn of 2021, when the Southern Knights contested the final with Ayr, losing out at the Dam Health in the final. Of course, in charge that afternoon was the man who's now in charge of Edinburgh A, Rob Christie, and he was mighty close to winning the inaugural championship. it went the way of the Alloway club. Was just looking down there as Southern Knights have brought on some fresh legs in the form of Ben Fotheringham, and he's drafted in as an emergency player, so he will take his place in the Southern Knights side for the remaining minutes of this first half. And it's an attacking line out here for the Knights, close as you see towards the Edinburgh A22, towards the front of the line, won by Alan Ferry. Can the Knights create something now in the final few minutes of the first half to get some points on the board, trailing by 33 points to 0. Ferry having done a lot of the hard work to secure ball in the line and get some field position up towards the edge of the 22, but turned over by Edinburgh A. Again, they just take their time, look at their options. Cam Jones readies himself, squats down, now looks as if he's controlling it with the boots for perhaps a box kick into that familiar sort of squat position. And then here he goes, launches it high, floodlights on around the Greenyards. That was juggled and guddled there, eventually came into Kieran Clark's grasp, and Clark now up towards the 22, relatively slight figure compared to some in the park, but did very well indeed. Long look pass out now towards the right hand side, and Aidan Cross, lateral again, he's found some space, Cross into the 22, lovely offload there to Brand, that seemed high, around the shoulders and neck area, and Aidan Cross is gesticulating with the referee there as the challenge was made, and I think one of the players down, Clark is down. I think he's taken a sore one as well, but Riley, as you mentioned, Colin, was right in the thick of it.
Yeah, it's a big tackle, isn't it? It just looks like, and he knew straight away that he was just too high. I think the initial contact wasn't high. It's great work from the Southern Knights Cross, and then the support of Brand, but then it's a big shot from Ethan Riley, but it's too high, and it's a pretty easy decision for Finlay Brown to go to the pocket, give Riley a little 10-minute break. Brand, I think, is receiving a bit more treatment. Lively from the Southern Knights, getting a couple of times Aidan Cross has had ball, this right winger, and he's looking lively. He's good footwork on him, quick off the mark. Caught Edinburgh a bit unawares there.
Cross and Kieran Clark at fullback, running from a deeper position, opening up the Edinburgh A defence and presenting an opportunity. So Brand, Cross and Clark were certainly key to making some good headway there for the Southern Knights, as they had some good ball inside the Edinburgh A 22 just prior to the yellow card being awarded there to, or brandished to, Ethan Riley. Riley, of course, in at fullback with Nathan Sweeney dropping out. Sweeney's involvement last night, and Sweeney, a player, of course, I think, who signed his first pro contract earlier in the week. That's
excited now. This is interesting. You have kind of games within games, don't you? So the period around half time is always an important time. You look at teams like Leinster, Ireland, they really target the kind of 10 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes, and then the 40 to 50 to get points on the score, to make close games no longer close games. So, but for Edinburgh now, it's about, well, they've got 10 minutes around half time with 14 players, so how do they manage this 10 minutes? And how do Southern Knights, do they get energised by the fact that they've got an extra man for these 10 minutes, a chance to get their first score of the game, of the half, and kind of go into half time really buoyed?
Looking to recycle again. Third phase here, Brand over the ball, just on the edge of that 5 metre line. The 14 men of Edinburgh having to do a bit of work at the moment. Edinburgh A leading by 33 points to 0 up against Russell Anderson on the ball at the moment in this Southern Knights side. Knights scrambling around the fringes of that 5 metre line out towards the left hand side. Craig Greer coming onto the ball there, caught in those final 5 metres. Bit of movement left and right from the Knights players as they're looking for an opportunity to get those first points on the board before the interval. Of course, the fresh legs we mentioned, Ben Fotheringham, the thick of everything just now. He's just standing off the action, readying himself for perhaps another carry, as again the Knights bundled backwards. Edinburgh players getting back to their feet. The latest is Murray McCallum, who gets back and moves round defensively, eating into the final few moments of this first half. 3 minutes of the opening 40 left to play. Finlay Brown jockeying for position as the Knights, a sustained spell of pressure, and Alan Tate below us barking some instructions by way of the Southern Knights coaching staff and players. The Knights then lunging for the line, the raised arm of the referee, the cheers coming from the main stand, and there was a lot of effort, a lot of will there, and the Southern Knights were able to get across. I think it may well be Alan Ferry who's going to be awarded the score, but Colin, Gregor, you have to say that up against 14 men, they've taken the opportunity. They worked very hard to create that chance, but they were able to find a way through. There's the score once again, a fine finish from the open side flanker.
Yeah, they've done really well going through the phases, and it's interesting because it's the Edinburgh fullback that's off the field, so forwards it's 8v8 still, so the Southern Knights can take real heart from the fact that actually they've gone toe to toe with Edinburgh. The first real opportunity they've had in and around the Edinburgh try line, and they had the patience just to keep going through the phases, just to back themselves, just to make the yards even when they got driven back. They secured ball, they didn't panic, they just kept their heads, kept control, and it's just rewards in the end that Ferry gets across the line for their first score.
Another Southern Knights change as Ben McFarlane is on the park, so that'll be a replacement in the front row. Watching on just now is Callum Grieve, looks to add an extra 2 points. Grieve, who's scored in the opening 2 matches for the Knights, and he's landed a conversion to make the scoreline Knights 7, Edinburgh A 33. And Grieve are trying the conversion last weekend, a penalty in the opening weekend defeat to Watsonians, and well, that'll certainly lift the spirits of the home side.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, it did come at a cost, as we see that Russell Anderson's not going to be able to continue. He's hobbling away at the far end of the pitch where Southern Knights have just scored their try, but they'll be delighted by that. They had a little opportunity with Edinburgh getting a man sent to the sin bin, and they've taken that opportunity.
Recycle ball then as Knights mop up inside their own 22. There's still a substantial margin between the sides, but Knights will be delighted to at least have got some points on the board before half time. Easing the ball away from the feet of his teammates there, launches a kick on the angle, finds touch between that 10 and 22, and this FOSROC Spring Series sprint match approaching half time, final 30 seconds of the opening 40, and it's 33-7 in favour of the visitors Edinburgh E.
Yeah, but the last 10 minutes it'll be Southern Knights that are the happier of the two teams. Did really well there as well, under pressure at the restart, just to clear the lines, get the ball off the field. The challenge is now, can they withstand this cough up possession? So that's exactly what the Southern Knights would want coming into half time.
Yeah, that's a perfect opportunity there, and the referee signalling the Edinburgh knock on. In fact, he had a quick glance at the watch after signalling the knock on and said, lads, that's it, we've reached the interval, and at half time it's the Southern Knights 7, Edinburgh 33. And Patrick Harrison in that first half scored 2 tries, 2 very similar tries, line-outs inside the Southern Knights 22. Some driven ball worked its way back to the hooker, and a player who's scored in the opening 2 matches of the competition has already scored twice this afternoon. Try as well for Matt Curry. Jones and Williams also on the score sheet, but the half-time score after that Alan Ferry try has made it Southern Knights 7, Edinburgh E 33. Colin, this was the opening opportunity and the opening score for Edinburgh A, and Patrick Harrison again, who we mentioned his power and ability from close range after a good solid line out. This was the illustration of the Edinburgh A strength. Yeah, just almost the first attack of the game, wasn't it? They got themselves into that position 5 metres out,
and it was a quality forwards try that Harrison gets the reward from. On that occasion, it's no score for Murray McCallum, adjudged to double movement, but then moments later it's just good attack, and we just see the delay of Cammy Scott's pass there. He just draws that Southern Knights defence in, he just creates the space. Matt Curry outside him does really well to recognise that, change his line, and in the end it's a pretty straightforward try, but it's just the timing of the pass, just the little delay, and then Matt Curry just coming in off that left foot to get under the posts.
And then in sharp contrast, two tries that were created at close quarters inside the 22. The very next try was this one, the interception from the scrum half, from just short of his own 10-metre line. Look at the acceleration here on a perfect surface as well, right down the heart of the pitch, touching down. Of course, the ground, the home of Sevens, enjoyed many scores like that in the shortened game. But Jones was delighted with that chance.
Yeah, and we just see that Southern Knights maybe guilty on that occasion. He's trying to force the attack, just rather than going through the hands, just trying to throw that big miss pass. And Cam Jones, interesting that the scrum half's out in the defensive line in the middle of the field there, but he recognises that ball's in the air for too long, and he plucks it, and then it's back to the forwards. And great work from Blythe Lafferty there to just get through that initial Southern Knights defence, then just to have the presence of mind to keep the ball in two hands, look on his outside, maybe expecting to see a winger coming through in support, but it's no winger, it's Angus Williams, a tight head prop. And look at how graceful the dive to finish was, glorious.
Yeah, and sort of non-plus expression on his face as he gets back to his feet there. Job done.
Does it every week.
Yeah, just very matter of fact about it. And then Harrison again from close range. A try as Southern Knights thought they had something to say, and Alan Ferry, phase after phase inside the 22. There's Ferry lunging for the line. That was up against the 14 men of Edinburgh, but you made an important point during the commentary. It was still 8 forwards in the park. It was the fullback that saved the yellow carded. Yeah,
and that's why Southern Knights should be absolutely delighted with how they finished that half. That the start, it was an absolute onslaught from Edinburgh, and the physicality, the dominance that the forwards were getting, but Southern Knights fired a shot back at the end there to get their own score.
What glimpse of the main stand here at the Greenyards with the yellow and black seats. Just to the left of the picture you'll see the roof of the Georgian Harmony House, of course the home of the Borders Book Festival, and then the hill on the right hand side, the North Eildon, one of the three that are a favourite of many walkers in the Borders and much further afield as well. And you get a lovely vantage point from up the North Eildon down over the town of Melrose and the Greenyards in particular. But there also is the scoreline at the interval. The Southern Knights 7, Edinburgh Rugby A 33. Of course Edinburgh scoring 33 points against Watsonians in 5 tries in their second match of the series. Their first was a 36-19 win over Heriot, 6 tries on that occasion, and the Southern Knights have conceded 42 points against Watsonians and 36 to Heriot's. Were under the cosh for a lot of that first half, but certainly been encouraged by how they closed out the opening 40 minutes, and with points on the board, something for them to build in the second half. Edinburgh A back out onto the park for the start of the second half, and followed closely behind them by the Southern Knights players. Knights having made some changes in that first half. Looking down there, can see as well that Ian Harrison, tight head prop, is on for the second half. So they've made some changes in the forwards just on the stroke of half time. A few injuries. Well, Colin, you had picked up on the injury to the skipper Russell Anderson being significant, but I mean, Alan Tate will have certainly identified those final few minutes when Edinburgh A, as is the case at the start of the second half, are with only 14 men on the park. So it presents Knights with something of an opportunity to eat into this healthy advantage the visitors have.
Bruce Houston's helped them there, yes, with an unforced error, just dropping the ball, obviously thinking about what he was going to do with the ball before he'd actually caught it, which is easy done. Maybe just still finishing off his half-time pie. So it's the ideal start position for Southern Knights now in this second half. Not all that surprised that there's a few forwards changed at half-time. There is that kind of real difference in the kind of physicality that this Edinburgh A team are bringing. So even just a few fresh legs for Southern Knights will help them, because it was tough for the forwards in particular in that first half. But good scrum there.
Into the scrum, good 1-2 there from Derek on towards Brand. 8 on towards the scrum half, and it's Brand again, the scrum half with ball in hand at the moment, looking to ship the ball out to Demeril, who takes the ball into the tackle situation, deeper inside that 22. Knights with their tails up at the moment against the 14 men of Edinburgh E. On that 5, taken on this time by Clark Skeldon.
Tackle!
Right in the thick of it there, Matt Curry, one of the try scorers for Edinburgh E in the first half. Good interchange and pass, and nice little reverse there from the fly half. Grieve taken on 5-6 metres short of the line, close towards this left hand side now. Knights playing with a lot more confidence through the hands just now. You can see Grieve gesticulating with those across the 22, looking for a little bit more movement in that line. Skeldon and co over the ball at the moment again, as the Knights looking to press and probe this Edinburgh A defence up against at the start of this second half. Knights pick and go once more in those dark jerseys up against the orange of Edinburgh E. Recycle ball, Derek over the ball at the moment, little pop pass out towards the right hand side, then the number 8 will join in once more as Southern Knights jockey for position again. Skeldon walk forward right at the heart of the action. Derek on now. Brand thought about the loop pass. Oh, Brand's bought himself a little bit of space there and clawed to the ground. Was able to offload on the deck as well, and it's Grieve who's bundled backwards. Inside the 22 it remains, taken on at pace there by Demeril, driving up towards that 5 metre line in between those channels. Brand again, on this time towards the try scorer Alan Ferry. Brand has it once more, on towards Grieve, floats one out to the outside centre there. Chalmers on the angle, goes to deck, tackle coming in there from Cammy Scott.
However, the one back over here by number 8,
signalling the penalty across on that far side. One of the Edinburgh players will receive a little bit of treatment, but much more life and positivity about this Southern Night side since the interval, Colin, Gregor.
Yeah, the initial error from Edinburgh at the restart, giving Southern Knights a great field position, and they're throwing everything at Edinburgh. In fairness to the Edinburgh defence, so far they've withstood everything. They're making their tackles, they're slowing the ball down just enough at the breakdown to allow their defence to get set, but they had infringed early on in that set of defending, which meant that Knights could be a bit more ambitious, throw the ball around, to no avail on that occasion. But it does mean that they still have great field position. Looks like they might be popping it into the corner. See how their line out maul goes.
I think it's a £10 every hand.
Certainly be one tactic that you expect they will go for, across on that right hand side towards the policeman's corner. And here at the Greenyards, 33 points to 7, so no change to the scoreline, but a change on the bench there. Nathan Sweeney is on the field, of course, on the bench rather than starting as at 15, and that coming clattering, the ball coming clattering off there, one of the floodlight poles, as it will be a throw in then for Southern Knights. Now we have watched Patrick Harrison come good with 2 scores in the first half, but line out there gathered by Ferry, and the Knights again looking to reorganise, getting down towards the final 5 metres. Stripped out Brand, reaching in, trying to wrestle possession of the ball, the scrum half, as Edinburgh swarming around these Knights players and forcing them backwards, still inside the 22. Edinburgh leading by 33 points to 7, and they have to back away. Another infringement is costing them in the early stages of this second half. They've not quite got out the changing rooms and into their groove at the moment, so it's going to be another tap deep inside the 22 for the Knights.
Yeah, again Edinburgh just the discipline just creaking at line out time there. Knights going with the more direct route. They scored obviously at the end of the first half just with their pick and go game, so they're in a great position to try and do similar at the start of this second half.
Tap, and again you can see you're in 19 Ben Fotheringham, Redding himself looking to carry support in behind. I think that was Sam Derrick that was looking to drive in just behind him. The referee jockeying for position again right on that line. Then Southern Knights players now get a little bit more movement across towards the right hand side. Brand slipping and sliding as he tried to go himself, and the referee raising the arm. And you have to say that Southern Knights thoroughly deserving a score at the start of this second period, and it's Rory Brand who comes good, the scrum half, who had options to the right hand side, felt there was a little opening that he could exploit, and sliding towards the ground he was able to reach out, lean down and ground the ball cleanly, and that's a further 5 points for the Southern Knights and an excellent start to the second period.
Yeah, it's great work from Southern Knights, and as you said, Stuart, the options that Brand had out to the right, that just distracted the Edinburgh defence enough that he could just burrow his way over close to that breakdown. So it's a really good start to the second half, following up their strong finish at the end of the first half. So the Edinburgh sin binning has really cost them dear. That's 2 scores they've shipped, but with the fullback off, it has been the forwards that the Southern Knights have had success with their pick and go game. So yeah, from an Edinburgh point of view, they want to park that, and then they'll want to get good field position and start reasserting their dominance.
And a good conversion as well from Callum Grieve, adding to his tally for the season. A try and conversion, as we mentioned last weekend, a penalty in the opening weekend, 2 conversions this time out. The start kick is gathered just on the edge of the Southern Knights 22, and they're able to recycle ball, taken into contact there by Ian Harrison. Brand with the box kick, coming flying through there one-handed was Jamie Campbell, couldn't get hands on the ball. Underneath that one was Jack Blaine, was able to read the flight of the ball, taken into contact, mopped up there by Cam Jones, and taken on by Patrick Harrison, who of course, if he was to land another score, that would be a hat-trick for the hooker. Now look at this for a piece of powerful running as he's up towards the edge of the 22. Jones in behind him, looks to mop up. Little pass there from Bet into the 22. This is excellent running here from Jamie Campbell, up to within 6 metres of the line before he is then clawed to ground. Out towards the right hand side, right winger is Finn Douglas, who's crowded out there, but he's able to keep the ball in play, and back in it comes to Blythe Lafferty, who's worked well from deeper line positions inside the opposition 22. Taken on there again by Campbell, goes to deck. Edinburgh A showing some urgency in their passage of play, but again intercepted inside that Southern Knights 22, and I think a few cries of encouragement coming by way of Alan Tate and his coaching staff, as I'm sure he would be very forthright and direct at half time, but whatever he said has certainly led to a further response from the Knights. 14-33 now the scoreline, and Edinburgh A remain unconvincing the start of this second period.
Yeah, just you think there that they're in a great position to get over the try line, but just the pass just almost being forced, the error created the knock on, and Southern Knights, so again they'll be delighted that they've withstood that. But feel they'll be a little bit disappointed with how slowly they started the game, because for the last 10-15 minutes they've more than matched Edinburgh, but the first 20-30 minutes they just got blown off the pitch, almost that they were waiting to see what Edinburgh, almost overawed by the fact that they were the pro team. They've come back really well, the Knights.
It was palmed back there by Sweeney, and Edinburgh A just on the deck. They're trying to bring Jack Blaine into play. Seemed to be under a little bit of pressure when didn't necessarily expect to find himself under a pressure situation, as he was scrambling after that ball that was helped back there by Sweeney. And play will resume just close towards the halfway line.
These errors that Edinburgh are making now, they weren't making in the opening quarter of the game or so. It's lifting the Southern Knights, it's getting them, just giving them more belief and getting them good field position. Having withstood that Edinburgh attack, defending on their own line, now to one big kick downfield to find themselves now with scrum put in the Edinburgh half. They'll be delighted.
Southern Knights then with the put in. Brand, Knights forced backwards. Brand's now just back inside his own half before the referee Finlay Brown awards the penalty. And Brand very quickly after possession of the ball. Would be very interesting, you know. I know it's not going to happen, but if the Edinburgh A side and the Glasgow representative side had stayed in the competition all the way through to the end, it would have obviously made it an 18 tournament all the way through, but it would have been interesting just to see how well they would have fared against all the sides.
Yeah, and do the traditional Super 6 teams work out that actually there isn't that same kind of difference, the way that Southern Knights started slowly today. I think Ben Cairns, the Heriots coach, was frustrated with how his team had started against Edinburgh. They almost were overawed before realising actually they can match them. Ayrshire Bulls turned Glasgow over, and Stirling Wolves obviously ran them close last night as well. So, yeah, it would have been interesting. Maybe in the future we'll see a full series with the Glasgow and Edinburgh A teams in them.
Just up towards the edge of the 22, some recycled ball.
No, play on.
End of their strong hands. Southern Knights just trying to secure possession. Ball on the ground, picked up there. Brand slipping. Now there has been a little bit of rainfall around Melrose during the last hour and a half or so. It's back now towards Grieve. Grieve out on this right hand side, supported there by Ben Fotheringham, who goes into the 22 slots and then goes to deck, and then it's recycled again by Brand. Has a look at the options there taken on by Harrison, one of the other replacement forwards. Brand in once more, on then towards Aidan Hall, inside centre with a pass just to his inside, still scrapping and scrambling for possession of the ball. Sam Derrick down on both knees, and behind him is Brand, on now towards Grieve, shipped the ball out there towards the inside centre. Aidan Hall again trying to peel round on a run. Brand in behind again, step and then an offload right at the very edge of the 22. Brand goes in once more, finds Grieve again out towards the right hand side, played on by McFarlane out towards that far side. But again you can see how organised the Edinburgh defence is when they're up against this sort of pace of attack. And Southern Knights now back between that 10 and 22. Brand again on once more towards the inside centre, taken on by Clark at fullback. Tackles made on Robbie Chalmers outside centre. Still they have it. Derek sidestepped in, tackled on the edge of the 22. Again Grieve calling for more movement in the line. Demerel into the 22. He's one of the most powerful Southern Knights figures in possession of the ball and on ball. Brand, now he's able to go down and recycle. That slight delays allowed Edinburgh to reorganise once more, as it's taken on once again by Hall. Brand in behind, mopping up. Floodlights shining brightly overhead as Demerel now is tackled and floored, and again is sliding the ball back, with the Knights maintaining possession and discipline, and again having to work from a slightly deeper position inside the 22. And Colin Gregor the steal was on there, and Harrison was coming flying through. The referee said no, we're not allowing you to do that, so Edinburgh retreat. And Colin, I mean, Southern Knights have had plenty of the ball in the opposition half of the field. The territory stats will be pretty impressive in the now 14 minutes of this second half.
Yeah, and they've attacked really well at the beginning of this second half, and it's when they can get a little bit of tempo to their attack, when the Brand gets in at scrum half and gets the ball away, and just some of the footwork from some of the bigger forwards has been really good, just so that Edinburgh don't get the big physical tackles in. You can see on a couple of occasions Edinburgh trying to hold the ball carrier up. Saw Sam Derrick, the Melrose number 8, work really hard to get a knee to ground, because that's the tackle's then complete as soon as you get a knee to ground, which means the defence have to release. And Southern Knights, they're doing well, just shifting that point of contact. The basic skill set, the support, getting numbers to the contact has been really good, because I think Edinburgh would want to try and force a turnover at some point, but they're just not getting any opportunity because the footwork of the Knights ball carrier, the support, how quickly they get in to secure the ball, allow them to launch another phase. And winning a penalty, Edinburgh just getting frustrated thinking they could take that ball, which Finlay Brown, the referee, decided wasn't out, and as a result it's back into the 22 for Southern Knights.
Yeah, and down receiving a bit of treatment just at the moment, Rory Brand. Just having a look at the Edinburgh players on the bench. Of course they started with Mickey Jones, Dan Gamble, Tom Smith, Dalton Redpath, of course, of Hoyt, who we mentioned. Charlie Shield still listed as one of the replacements. Of course, he was involved in Belfast last night. Sam Wallace, Nathan Sweeney, not long since come on the field, and Lewis Wells, who enjoyed a very good tournament at the Berwick Sevens last weekend. I'm sure we'll get the opportunity to talk a bit more about Wells if he comes on the park. As we're watching on now, as Derek wins the ball in the line out inside that 22. A decent throw in there from James Bett.
Use it!
And Southern Knights getting Bett with his connections to Selkirk, as it's on now towards Aidan Hall. Into that 22, eating up some ground, goes to ground on his backside there, mopped up and played on, and almost through delicate hands. A little bit of football played now on towards Kieran Clark. That was clever. Clark then on the angle, but tackled by Matt Curry. And then they bring Demerel into play once more. Another bit of crash ball from the lock forward, starting rather than making an appearance off the bench this afternoon is Erin Demerel. And another penalty conceded by Edinburgh A inside their own 22. Demerel gets back to his feet. Remains 14-33 the scoreline. Yes, this again, Colin Gregor provides Southern Knights with an opportunity, an inviting set piece.
Yeah, there's only been one team in the second half. It's not the team that have scored 33 points. They've done really well at the opening 15 minutes of this second half. Dominated territory, had a lot of possession as well. Edinburgh on the whole, their defence has been pretty robust. Just getting on the wrong side of Finlay Brown, the referee, giving away more penalties than they'd like at this stage in the game, just allowing Knights to continue to build the pressure on them. So now firmly camped on the Edinburgh try line. It's another big challenge for this Edinburgh defence, and a great opportunity for the Knights.
Bett with the throw in, and won by Demerel in the line. Bett looking to try and get immediate control of the ball. Alongside him there is Ben McLean. The Knights been cheered on by a sizable contingent of supporters sitting below us in the main stand at the Greenyards, rumbling up in those final 5 metres. Edinburgh A then forced backwards. A group of players then crash over the line, controlled possession of the ball, and it's a third score for the Southern Knights this afternoon. And I think it's Ben McLean, the replacement hooker, that will be awarded the try. Is a player who can certainly play in that position, because Bett has been throwing in, but he's a highly skilled forward, and we expect it will be awarded to Ben McLean. And it's now 19:33, and the Southern Knights are gradually eating into this healthy advantage that Edinburgh A mounted up in the early stages of the game.
Yeah, really good execution from the forwards, just maintaining that control, maintaining that discipline. Body positions of all of them was excellent, and when in that situation, just making sure that the accuracy of the line out, make sure that's correct, and then just have the patience, have the control, the aggression to get over the try line. Another fine score from the Knights.
Grieve then with the conversion. Oh, that's an absolute beauty there from close towards the left-hand touchline. You can see the cloud just on the very top of the North Eildon, but there was nothing to distract Grieve from adding an extra 2 points there. It's the Southern Knights 21, Edinburgh A 33, and I think there'll be some voices and discontentment inside the Edinburgh A camp now. They'll be voicing their frustrations after this very healthy advantage has been whittled away. Up with play there, another Edinburgh A replacement. We mentioned him just a few moments ago, Lewis Wells, of course well known around Linlithgow, very well coached by the likes of Dougie Thompson. As Edinburgh A looking to respond very quickly, and that's a real collision there between the open side flanker Blythe Lafferty and Robbie Chalmers, but Lafferty has done enough to escape the attentions of the outside centre and respond straight away for an Edinburgh A side that suddenly finds some life in the second half, extend the lead 38 points to 22, and the contribution of a few of these replacement players important as well, Colin Gregor, but you have to say Chalmers was unfortunate there. He just couldn't stop the open side flanker from scoring.
Yeah, really good attack. Just a ball carry from Blythe Lafferty. Just aggression, good footwork, good pace as well. But it was a really good kick chase from the restart. Just the effective low tackle, and then Knights turning over ball straight away, and Edinburgh making them pay the fullest price. And they needed that. They needed to reassert a bit of control back into this game, having run away into a 33-0 lead. They'd then been pinned back by Southern Knights, but that's just kind of maybe knocked the wind out of the Knights' sails, as Edinburgh now go for quite a few of their replacements coming onto the field.
Well, that's 9 tries between the two sides, accumulation of scores.
Okay.
Now, as Colin mentioned, some fresh legs on, and it's been a busy weekend for the man who will be about to be in possession of the ball, delivering this box kick. Is Charlie Shield, of course, his father, an ex-Melrosian, back in, would that be early 1990s, late 80s, his dad. Well-known figure around here anyway, as it's back with the Southern Knights now and taken on through that right-hand side. What challenge coming in there from Lewis Wells. Part of that chase from the kick-off which led to the Blythe Lafferty try. We mentioned Dougie Thompson and Linlithgow, one of the many stalwart figures that worked tremendously hard to bring through these up-and-coming young players. Southern Knights then looking to inflict a bit further damage though on this Edinburgh A side, and that was mopped up there by Charlie Shield, wearing the long dark blue sleeves underneath the orange top. Takes a side step and launches a kick forward. The chase is on here, a little bit of hesitation there. Finn Douglas trying to read the flight of the ball, and the bounce is allowed to bounce there, and Knights again were able to get some players round the ball, and Edinburgh A trying to ask a few more questions of the Knights, playing a little bit of football. Long look pass out there, and it's a direct one, found Wells there. Charlie Shield hoisted forward across towards Sweeney. Sweeney then, ball bounces favourably for him, and Sweeney is over for the score. As I say, a favourable bounce. Sweeney reading the flight of the ball, accelerating, found himself in space, and again Edinburgh A going from coast to coast quickly, using a little bit of football skills to good effect here. And Colin, Gregor, that's 2 quick fire scores that have changed the atmosphere around the Greenyards.
Yeah, smart play from Charlie Shield, just recognising where the space was, throwing the big pass out, but it's great footwork from Wells. Just the last Southern Knights defender just flying up, thinking he needs to snuff out the attack there and then, but Wells just got the footwork just to bounce around him. And then I think he probably could have gone with a pass or the kind of flat crossfield kick pass. He went with the latter, just putting it on the boot, and it's well executed. Sweeney just has the time, he has the patience just to let the ball bounce until it's ready to pop up, and he's got the pace to finish it off. Good score from Edinburgh.
Under ever darkening skies in Melrose, Edinburgh looking for the conversion between the channels on that left hand side to extend their advantage, closing in on 50 points. Here's another 2, 47-21 the scoreline. Edinburgh's replacements certainly aiding their cause as they're closing in on the 50-point mark, but Southern Knights will look back on the match thus far and say, well, we have had an opportunity to hurt this Edinburgh side and ask them questions, and they have done so. They've 21 points on the board, 18 minutes of the game left to play. Some real solid collisions coming into play now as Charlie Shield again is able to find teammates. High hoisted kick almost. Well, we've got a good flight or good watch of the ball there, the ball in flight, good view of it coming our way. Don't have our little yellow framed window open on this occasion. Colin just adjusting his position to get a better view of the set piece, which incidentally is just below our commentary position, and readying himself is James Bett. Hooker throwing in, receiving the instructions from Jack Dobie, and Dobie then at the front of this line out. Bit of movement towards the back, one there by Clark Skeldon. Peeling away there was the try scorer McLean. On towards inside centre, Aidan Hall, floored on the edge of the 22. picked up then again by Davidson, replacement for the Southern Knights at scrum half. Little misunderstanding there as the ball was knocked forward, double knock on. Ball eventually ended up in the hands of Harrison, who was working his way around the corner before Finlay Brown whistled to bring play back to the edge of the 22, and Edinburgh will have the scrummage put in. And we're closing in on the final now, 16 minutes off the contest, and at one stage perhaps, Colin, we feared it was going to be one-way traffic, but Southern Knights certainly addressed that situation, and the yellow card perhaps did play a part with Ethan Riley going off, but can't take anything away from the attitude of the Southern Knights players just before and particularly immediately after the break.
Yeah, I think the first 20 minutes they were a bit kind of blown off the field by the physicality in particular of Edinburgh. Edinburgh's basic skills during that time were really, really accurate. They gave the Southern Knights almost nothing, and Southern Knights maybe forced things, a couple of unforced errors, which then over the kind of from 30 to 55 minute mark, it was the Southern Knights were the dominant team. They cut out the errors. They got Finlay Brown, the referee, on their side, winning a few penalties, scoring a few tries, taking the opportunities just after they built pressure for sustained periods. Now Edinburgh, the changes Edinburgh have made they've brought a bit more energy back into their team. They have kind of reasserted control.
Charlie Shields' pass played forward, Knights again, and in particular Kieran Clark at fullback was just chasing the flight of the ball, which doesn't quite make halfway, but provides Southern Knights with a throw in inside the Edinburgh A half off the field. Coming across is James Beck to throw the ball into this Southern Knights line out. A little bit of deliberation, forward they come. There's no huddles allowed prior to these line-outs these days. But the instructions coming by way of Dobie. Movement towards the front of the line. Demirel the option to win the ball in the line, which he does. Back with Bet. Ball tucked under his right arm. There's the movement from the Southern Knights players scrapping for everything there. There's the scrum half, Callum Davidson with the placement played forward, a little chip and chase here, and Davidson's doing ever so well, leads the flight of the ball, lands on the ball, now back against the try line. Desperate defence there from Charlie Shield, but that was an excellent piece of opportunism from Davidson, as from close towards the touchline he was down that left hand side. The referee goes to the pocket, brandishes a yellow card, and Colin Gregor, great bit of creativity there from Callum Davidson, who'd a lot to do, but he backed himself, and again, even at this stage where he was able to slide on the ball, he was up against the power of the Edinburgh A defence, he was still able to maintain possession.
Yeah, I think it's really smart from him when it's only 5 metres out, that actually rather than trying to kick the ball just such a short distance, he just dives on ball, retains possession. And it's Sam Wallace, the Edinburgh replacement, that he does really well to get back to make the tackle, but he then finds himself on the wrong side of the breakdown. Finlay Brown's determined that he's done that illegally, slowing the Southern Knights possession down, so it's a second yellow card for Edinburgh, and another great attacking position. We have seen Southern Knights score one from this already, just real good execution of the basics.
Yeah,
that occasion they're unsuccessful.
Demirel had won the ball in the line, but Edinburgh doing very well to wrestle back possession of the ball, and over the ball then is Charlie Shield out towards the left hand side and taken on initially by Nathan Sweeney. The referee will bring play back for the Southern Knights knock on inside that 22, and perhaps some tactical changes going to be made by Southern Knights. Just watching on here now as the Knights are Colin just in conversation there with some of the announcers, just confirming that the changes that have been made in the last few minutes. The announcing team just along to our left hand side at the Greenyards this afternoon. It's a set play.
Stand up, time off.
We're just watching on here as the referee Finlay Brown intervenes.
Patience, hold your weight.
11 and a half minutes of this game left to play, and there's been plenty high scoring, and intriguing fare in round 3
Time
of
on.
the FOSROC spring series of matches, Colin, and
Crouch.
this is certainly delivered and then some.
Crouch.
Afternoon.
It was Herriot's
Fine.
and Watsonian's drawing, what was it, 33
Set.
all
33 all.
earlier this afternoon. So Watsonian scoring in the 77th minute to get the tie, and Glasgow beating Stirling 34-31 last night. So yeah, lots
he
going
is.
on.
I think it was Jason Baggett
Oh,
who got
he's
the
played the ball.
Watsonian score. Of course, no stranger to these parts, having played for Melrose in a past life as a fully fledged amateur player before going into the part-time professional game. The Charlie Shields kick is being charged down, and suddenly the Southern Knights have this attacking opportunity 5 metres from the line. They look to pick and go again round the corner. Clark Skeldon, he's floored. It's picked up. I think that's Sam Derrick, who's almost lifted off the ground here and forced sideways. He's going to be bundled into touch, just a little bit too close towards the touchline there. But the Shield kick charged down, and suddenly there was some frantic activity inside that Edinburgh E22, but it will come back and there'll be a chance for the players to compose themselves again before the Knights will have another attack.
Yeah, I think Jamie Campbell, the second row, adjudged offside there according to Finlay Brown. So yeah, Southern Knights another pick and go, and just have the patience, the control. Gets harder and harder as the game gets on, the legs get tired.
No, Edinburgh! Let it come!
See what Southern Knights can do from this position.
10 minutes of the contest left to play. Southern Knights 21, Edinburgh A 47. Live FOSROC action from the Greenyards this Saturday evening, and we're watching the Southern Knights on the attack, looking for a 4th score in the game, and it's been recycled by Davidson. Played out there outside centre as Chalmers. Ball goes loose, and suddenly Edinburgh A were away, but the referee, before they could get up towards that 10 metre line, had already whistled them out to intervene, and the Knights have made a further change. Murray Wilson stripped and ready to come on for the closing few minutes of the contest. 9 minutes of the game left to play. Pride at stake. Final 9 minutes for many of these players in a lengthy period of time. I'd imagine their season drawing to a close with Edinburgh's last action last night in Belfast, and the Knights will of course turn their attentions to more familiar opposition for the remainder of this spring competition. They've already played, of course, Herriot's and Watsonians, and the tournament will conclude towards the end of May.
There's a lot they can take from this game though, Southern Knights, although they're 47-21 down on the scoreboard. The second half in particular really acquitted themselves well.
And towards the right hand side, Kieran Clark, the fullback, stops, checks, works his way back inside, he's tackled. Demirel takes the ball forward. We've seen how powerful he can be in a Southern Knights jersey as it comes back then through the hands of Rutherford on that left hand side. Up very quickly there was Dan Gamble, one of the latest Edinburgh A replacements on the field, off the bench. I think Dalton Redpath is also stripped and on the park, the Hoyt man, for the closing few moments of the game, and this is where both sets of coaches will be fair to their squads. No point in having the players sitting twiddling their thumbs on the bench. They will be on for some game time, and I think that's pretty much everybody accounted for now in some form, Colin, either having started the game or having appeared from the sidelines.
I'll take your word for that on Stuart, yes. But yeah, as you say, good that people getting decent minutes even though it's late in the season. Just like to see Edinburgh attack from this position. Again, it's 72, 73 minutes on the clock. They're deep in their own half, but why not have a go?
Yeah, well, Charlie Shield with the ball into the scrum. Referee once more as the players break off. Will reset the set piece. Eating into the final now 7 minutes of the contest. An early Saturday evening at the Greenyards. Delighted to have your company, whatever you're doing this evening, whatever your Saturday night plans entail. You've been with us for this match at the Greenyards between these two sides. As Shield then comes forward, taps, feeds the ball into the scrum. But it's number 8 just securing ball for the scrum half. Shield then on towards Lewis Wells launches it forward. It's gathered by Kieran Clark. Clark then is able to get up ahead of steam, up into the Edinburgh half of the field, bundled backwards, but Southern Knights will retrieve possession right on that halfway line. Knights again, Dan Gamble with the challenge.
Use it!
And again, Southern Knights looking to perhaps go the aerial route. Davidson's box kick. Right on that will be a contestable one. Coming flying through there, Jack Blaine, he'd take a sore one, landing at a rate of knots on the Greenyards turf. Box kick this time from Charlie Shield. That bounces once and then into touch, and that was an excellent angled box kick there from Shield, because he was inside his own half of the field there. He was able to deliver the ball down into the 22, and the Southern Knights again going to the bench. They're not quite having used the full complement of squad members this afternoon, but they go for one last fling, one last throw of the dice for the final 6 minutes of the match, and it remains Southern Knights 21, Edinburgh 47, with further changes coming the way of the home side, and a further opportunity here, Colin, for the Edinburgh A side to break the 50-point mark if they can find a way to the line.
Yeah, they want to finish the game on a high, the score at the end there, but that's smart defence from Southern Knights. They didn't engage at all, so Edinburgh set up the maul, but there's no one from the Knights in it, so it's obstruction from Edinburgh. And so yes, a cheeky little play from the Southern Knights to win the penalty.
Of course, your thoughts, I'm sure, for the last few minutes have been thinking towards the player of the match, and who will certainly be up in contention for player of the match anyway.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of the Southern Knights guys have really acquitted themselves well, even in defeat, like Sam Derrick at 8, Rory Brand at 9. He's looked really lively the period that he was on the game, but with the 47 points on the board, then you look at Edinburgh as being the victorious team. And again, the forwards have done a lot of good in that, and although he's been off the field for a wee while now, I think Jerry Blythe Lafferty at open side flanker, we've seen him playing hooker for Boroughmuir during Super 6 last season and some of this sprint series so far. I think he's been a quality operator today, vital role in a couple of the scores for Edinburgh. So yeah, my player of the match will be Edinburgh's open side, number 7, Jerry Blythe Lafferty, who is no longer on the field, having been replaced a wee while ago.
I'm just looking down there, confirmation that the latest Southern Knights replacement, winning number 24, Finn Barry, on the park. So that was a late change just after our teams were handed to us, but Finn Barry, who's now part of the Southern Knights scrum, and will be part of the final now. 3 minutes of the match here at the Greenyards. I put in here for Callum Davidson, who had that excellent bit of play down the left hand side about 10 or so minutes ago with a chip and chase, almost opening up the Edinburgh E defence. But tries this afternoon from Ferry, Brand and McLean for the Southern Knights. 2 for Harrison, 1 for Curry, 1 for Jones, Williams, Sweeney and Colin's player of the match, Blythe Lafferty, Jerry Blythe Lafferty, on the score sheet. And 21-47 is the scoreline. We see it burning bright on the electronic scoreboard down to our right hand side, and the clock shows we've only got 2.5 minutes just under of this match left to play. Back the ball comes, it's retrieved and scooped up there, and Rutherford now looks to spread the ball out towards this left hand side. Knights back inside Edinburgh territory. Over possession of the ball again is Kieran Clark. Davidson makes himself available. Assistant has the flag raised though. Southern Knights just running out of room there as Murray Wilson was scampering after the ball as it was played down that left hand side. So play will resume with another set piece into the final 2 minutes, and another high scoring match this weekend. Colin will do the totting up of the tries, but when you get close to double figures and it's a fairly well spread grouping of tries, then you have to say that that's a good afternoon's entertainment for the spectators that have made their way here.
Yes, indeed, and those watching in their homes as well. That and the manner in which Edinburgh shot off to a lead, and then Southern Knights got themselves, well, maybe not back into the game, but gave a good account of themselves before Edinburgh reasserted some control. Wondering if they'll get one final score to see us home.
Finn Douglas and Robbie Chalmers coming together there as the ball works its way back again through the hands out there towards the Edinburgh number 8 Rudy Brown, left hand side. Edinburgh on that 15 channel. Charlie Shield mopping up, taken on there by Dan Gamble towards the 10. Shilling again with those long blue sleeves. Houston, and then taken on this time by Cammy Scott. Bit of movement as Charlie Shield offload, taken on well there by Redpath up towards the 10, but stopped just short. Shield again, little misunderstanding as Liam McConnell was trying to find the teammate right on his shoulder there, who wasn't ready to receive pass of the ball, and 15 seconds of the match are left to play. It's 47-21 in favour of Edinburgh E, and this now the final fling for these sides.
Few sore bodies, I think, as we reach the end of the game. Just physicality will have been a step up for some of these Southern Knights players, but the pace of the game at times it's been pretty fast and frantic, so I'm sure there'll be a few tired legs in the Edinburgh team as well. We've got one last scrum to face, whether they can try and have the last say by forcing a turnover here, or if Southern Knights will be able to launch the last attack of the game.
I suppose the elite players within the recognised 6 sides within the FOSROC competition they'll be thinking to themselves, I don't want to look out of place if I was to play in an Edinburgh A side or a Glasgow A side. That's what they've got to aim for, but by having matches against one or the other side and the opportunity to pitch up against one or the other side in these opening 3 rounds gives them an idea of where they are and where they necessarily need to get to.
Yeah, and I think Blythe Lafferty's probably a great example of that, I think he was playing for Boroughmuir last week, or maybe on the bench for Boroughmuir, and then he's come in and he's not looked out of place in this Edinburgh A team. So yeah, for the Southern Knights guys, it's looking at that as well, and if this happens again next year, which of them would be comfortable in this Edinburgh team? I think Sam Derrick at 8 could be one of them.
Well, Derrick does well, fends off up towards the 10, picked up again, and Kane Davidson showing some real life, needed some support there, and was just bundled into touch. The referee a little glance, the watch on the left wrist, smile on his face. Still some time, guys, for another set piece. Seemed to be the words to those in the front row as they made their way forward to take part in this line out. A little bit of movement, so we've got Skeldon just towards the middle of the line. Was a lifter on this occasion as the ball was thrown in there by Patrick Harrison. Here's the drive on then from Edinburgh A up towards that 10 metre line. Players bundled to the ground. Again, they're still looking to try and move forward here.
Ball is there.
Charlie Shield looking for a little bit of movement towards his left hand side there. Colin Rudy Brown to work his way around the number 8. Shield then reaching in with the hands, picked up then by Brown, so he was the obvious recipient of the Charlie Shield pass. Shield then walks forward again, reaching in, lining up the box kick. Referee just making sure that all's well in the Southern Knights defensive line, the high up and under. Knights have got players coming forward. One of them is Chalmers, bundled to the ground but secured possession of the ball there. And again it's the replacement scrum half Davidson having looked to the left and right to play the ball. Davidson, Chalmers has taken a sore one. He's still on all fours at the moment with play raging on round about him. Robbie Chalmers now gets back to his feet there. He seems to have taken a sore one as he's hurtling quite badly. It comes back. Knights again hoist it forward. Let's remember a very youthful group of Borders based players. There's a little chip and chase on here. Jack Blaine into some space. Coming across at the rate of knots there was Kieran Clark. The referee goes to his pocket and he's going to yellow card there. I think that's Finn Barry Is it Barry that's been yellow card? He's got hands and hips, he's looking back in the
Clark
direction of
Skeldon, I
the
think.
referee. It is Skeldon's, apologies there, but Barry seemed to be almost in the way of the referee's line of sight there, but it is Skeldon, the Jed man, who makes his way towards the touchline, and he'll watch the remaining seconds from the sidelines. Meanwhile, Ian Harrison is back to his feet, socks round the ankles, having been in the wards receiving some treatment, and Houston on the angle plays that down towards the corner. No question about that finding touch, Colin.
Excellent kick from Houston. So Patrick Harrison might be on for his hat-trick yet. He's certainly in a good position now, aren't they? Has he scored 2, or am I making that up?
Harrison scored twice. Now he's on a hat-trick.
Yeah, so it could be the final save for Edinburgh, and certainly the ideal attacking position for them.
He scored in each of the opening 2 matches as well, a try apiece, but he's got 2 this afternoon, and he's just in the back of this rumble with 5 metres separating Edinburgh A and a further score. The 47 points on the board, watched on carefully by Finlay Brown, the referee. Edinburgh A looking for a handstand finish here.
They've been turned over though, I think.
And they have indeed, and it's a box kick from Davidson, and that box kick finds touch across the far side. Another glance at the watch, the referee subtly down to the left wrist there. He's content, play will continue, and the ball into touch. So from a slightly deeper line position, it's another throw in for Harrison. 2 in the first half, as the Southern Knights were really under the cosh, but found some form just before half time, and then had a good spell in the opening 15-20 minutes of the second period, but then 2 quick fire scores, and the player of the match, Lafferty, scoring one of them, is changing the complexion again, the rhythm of the match. But Edinburgh playing a very high attacking line here. Southern Knights on the defensive, players strung along their own 5 metre line. Recycled ball once more, Knights again looking to regroup defensively, and then, as we said, ever darkening skies here, and eyes off the ball there as it was knocked forward. The referee signalling the knock on. Now will that be it? The referee now does put whistle to mouth, raises the arm, blows for full time, and a thoroughly entertaining contest draws to a close. Southern Knights 21, Edinburgh Rugby A 47. So it means that Edinburgh have completed a clean sweep of successful matches in their 3-match involvement in this FOSROC Spring Series tournament, with the recognised 6 continuing for the final few weeks. But I'd imagine that the Edinburgh coaching staff, that Rob Christie and co, will have plenty of questions to ask, and plenty of thoughts to occupy their minds on the way back to the capital tonight. There has to be said, Colin.
Yeah, some good, some not so good, a little bit rusty at times as well, but yeah, comfortable enough. And it's sometimes the way that when you open up such a lead early on, you do lose a little bit of focus, you maybe get a little bit carried away with how easily you're scoring tries, as we see some of the action from the second half.
Yeah, well, the Southern Knights coming out the blocks very brightly at the start of the second half. It was very positive play. Of course, Alan Ferry scoring their opening try just before half time, so they were looking for something to build on, and the scores coming in, and their territorial play was significant too in the early stages of the second half, as we see them from close range there, breaching the line on a further 2 occasions.
Yeah, just the Edinburgh success with the line-out maul in the first half, and then Southern Knights showed that they could more than match them with that, which a real quality score there, just the work of the forwards. But just this run from Blythe Lafferty just exploded into action, and just that reasserted Edinburgh's control. They'd had a bit of a wobble there, but that just got them back on the front foot, having forced a turnover at the restart moments before. So a big carry from Blythe Lafferty, and then great recognition from Charlie Shield. They'd won the penalty, but there was space out wide, and it's good footwork to avoid the rushing defence from Southern Knights, put the ball on the boot out to the space, and then it's an easy run in for Nathan Sweeney over on that far side. Just wasn't quite the end of it though.
Get it on the work for you.
It was a fine effort here from Davidson, the replacement Southern Knights scrum half, and just see the yellow card here. It's good work from Wallace to get back, but then infringing, giving away a penalty and a yellow card, but in the end it's a comfortable win for Edinburgh.
Yeah, they'll be satisfied with many aspects of the game. Satisfied that the opposition they faced in the form of Heriot, well, it was a 36-19 victory in the opening weekend, and 33-17 against Watsonians in this afternoon, 47-21. There we are, and there's this weekend's results. Boroughmuir Bears 29, Ayrshire Bulls 21, and of course Glasgow Warriors up at Stirling, losing by 3 points, 34-31. And then the 33 all draw at Golden Acre earlier this afternoon, a real humdinger of an Edinburgh derby, and Edinburgh just too strong in that 10-try thriller that we watched against the Southern Knights. But credit to Alan Tate's side, showing some character when they were really up against it and under the cosh. It means that after 3 rounds of matches, as Glasgow and Edinburgh bow out, Glasgow Warriors sitting with 7 points in the table, Edinburgh topping the table on 14, with the Bulls and Stirling Wolves level on 10 points apiece. The Southern Knights picking up just a solitary point from their opening 3 matches, and Boroughmuir Bears this weekend, of course, getting a valuable victory. They're off and running with 5 points. So that's how things shape up, with the 2 city sides, Edinburgh and Glasgow Warriors, bowing out, and both sets of players in a huddle before they will head into the changing rooms. And final word from you, Colin, this afternoon. Well, it's always a special place to come to down at the Greenyards, and it's been a relatively new look Greenyards with the new surface and the new seats in the stand, and this Southern Knights grouping of players, many of them, as I say, young players, will want to use this experience and the experience of this competition to make sure that it's onwards and upwards for them in the coming years.
Yeah, and in the rest of this season, that there was plenty that they can take from the second half, the 30 to 40 minute mark, that positives there that they can build on. And for Edinburgh, it's the end of the season, so some of these players might find their way into the Super Series for some of the other teams, which will be interesting to see how they fare. But yeah, a thoroughly entertaining late afternoon, early evening down at the Greenyards.
And of course, Rob Christie, the Edinburgh head coach, coming down here, having had so much success in his time as head coach at Melrose, and then taking the Southern Knights to the final of the first completed series, the FOSROC competition, which ended in the autumn of 2021. That afternoon disappointment at the Dam Health, that is final outing as a Southern Knights head coach. But this afternoon, his Edinburgh side coming back down to the borders and enjoying a handsome victory, 47 points to 21. From myself and from Colin, Gregor, thank you very much for your company this early Saturday evening, and we wish you a very good weekend.